Money is personal. It's tied into how we see ourselves, how we're raised, what we hope for, and what we fear. When we grow up, few of us get a straightforward, compassionate guide on how to handle money. Instead, we pick up scattered lessons, parents arguing over bills, teachers glossing over financial literacy, friends bragging about hustle projects we barely understand. By adulthood, or even our teen years, we're hungry for advice, direction, and someone who seems to know what they're talking about. Enter the modern finance guru. These figures appear online, confident and bold, promising wealth and freedom. They have a name for every fear. Call it the matrix or the system, and a solution for every insecurity. Their messaging often revolves around grand promises, easy money, perfect independence, no bosses, no limits. Andrew Tate sneers from a penthouse balcony. Luke Belmar hints he can help you break free from societal chains. Alex Hormozi, with his calm business-like presence, claims to know how to scale your income to unimaginable heights. The temptation to trust them is real. They fill the silence left by the absence of real-life mentors. They appear at a time when stable careers are no longer guaranteed, when people are disillusioned with traditional institutions, and when uncertainty dominates the future. But are they truly offering wisdom, or just dressing up old scams in slick social media packaging? To understand the full picture, let's consider the emotional undercurrent that pushes people into their arms. Think about a young person wrestling with self-doubt. Maybe he's seen his parents struggle for years, working jobs they hate just to get by. He's tired of living on the edge. He wants a better life, but has no idea where to start. Online, he's bombarded by images of winners who claim to have cracked the code. They present themselves like saviors, implying, "I've escaped what you're stuck in. Let me show you how." From the outside, these influencers look like they're shaking up the status quo. They mock the idea of a degree, a 9-to-5 job, or basic life routines. They make a show of total liberation, fancy cars, luxury condos, exotic travel. It's a fantasy of pure autonomy, wealth without constraints. In a sense, they're playing on a very human longing, the desire not just for money, but for a life that feels meaningful, controlled, and validated. But if we peel back the layers, we start to see familiar patterns that have always been there in human society. This is not the first era of quick-fix financial profits. The difference is that now, instead of late-night infomercials selling you no money down real estate, VHS tapes, we have Instagram Reels and TikTok shouting, "If you're not rich by 25, you're a loser." The platforms have changed. The tone is louder, the reach is global, but the underlying trick is very old, hooking into your insecurities and offering an illusory shortcut. One of the most common tactics is the relentless shaming of ordinary life choices. Everyday human activities, watching a movie, playing a game, chatting about sports, are labeled as wasting time. The insinuation is that if you're not monetizing every second, you lack ambition and deserve your misery. This message hits hard in a world already saturated with anxiety. So many of us carry guilt about not doing enough. Hearing a loud voice confirm your worst fears, that you are too lazy, too slow, too complacent, can be both painful and strangely comforting. Painful because it insults you, comforting because it suggests a direct solution: stop wasting time and follow their lead. But consider what that solution usually is. More often than not, after hurling insults and dressing down your lifestyle, these gurus present their fix: a course, a membership, a community of hustlers. They claim it's your ticket to wealth. If you just pay them, if you just spend hours absorbing their advice, you'll transform into the apex predator of capitalism they claim to be. Look closely though. Truly successful, self-made entrepreneurs rarely spend their days publicly mocking the less wealthy or dangling their lifestyle in front of impressionable teens. Real success often creates humility, or at least a certain privacy. Billionaires like Warren Buffett, for instance, dress modestly, speak calmly, and don't lash out at strangers. He doesn't need to convince you he's rich, you know it. The quieter confidence of genuinely accomplished people stands in stark contrast to the noisy, frantic attention-grabbing of self-proclaimed masters of the universe online. Now, not every piece of advice these gurus give is nonsense. That's part of what makes their messaging seductive. Sprinkled among the chest-thumping and bravado might be a genuine insight: don't accumulate unnecessary debt or invest in yourself through education. They might occasionally remind you that discipline matters. These kernels of truth convince you that they're onto something. It's a classic tactic mix, just enough realism or common sense principles with a flood of empty hype to keep people hooked. The problem isn't that everything they say is false, it's that they leverage these basic truths to justify their grand, often illusory narratives of infinite wealth. We also need to talk about the cultural angle. Andrew Tate's rhetoric, for example, is wrapped up in hyper-masculine posturing, as if financial success is tied to rejecting any form of weakness. It resonates with young men who feel lost or powerless in modern society. The hustle culture preys on that confusion, suggesting that if they adopt a certain mindset, aggressive, ruthless, always on, they'll reclaim control. Luke Belmar talks about escaping the system, which plays on a deep distrust of institutions. Alex Hormozi, more polished, might avoid direct insults, but still implies that if you only adopt his frameworks, you'll experience explosive growth. These are narratives designed to tap into fears that traditional paths are dead ends. So what do you do if you're genuinely searching for financial advice in this mess? Start by asking, does the person giving this advice show evidence of their claims in a verifiable way? Do they share the nuances, the challenges, the long timelines involved in building wealth? Or do they just flash a rented Lamborghini and tell you to buy their course? Real experts typically acknowledge complexity. Markets fluctuate, businesses fail before they succeed, people have different starting points and resources. If a guru glosses over this complexity and makes it sound like you'll be printing money in a month, that's a red flag. Another perspective, what's the emotional tone of their message? True mentorship tends to empower the learner, respecting their individuality and encouraging them at their own pace. Scammers, on the other hand, belittle you, calling you a peasant or nobody, using humiliation to ensure you keep craving their approval. They maintain their authority by keeping you off balance. Genuine mentors know that building wealth is not just a mechanical process of flipping assets, it's also about building character, perseverance, empathy, and a long-term mindset. They don't dismiss your enjoyment of life's simple pleasures, they recognize that a balanced life can fuel sustained creativity and resilience. It's also worth considering that some of these gurus may believe their own hype. Humans are good at self-deception. They might have had a lucky break or caught a rising trend, and now genuinely think they've cracked a timeless code. But their experience doesn't automatically translate into a universal formula. The internet filters out failures. For every influencer boasting about success, there may be 100 who tried the same scheme and crashed. Survivorship bias is powerful. Without seeing the big picture, the ones who failed were left believing that the loud voices represent the norm, not the outliers. We should also discuss the human cost of buying into these narratives. Imagine a person who invests their savings in a course promising millions only to find the content superficial, the strategies non-viable. They might feel shame, as though the failure is their fault. They become more anxious, more desperate, and maybe even double down, chasing the next guru who looks convincing. This can spiral into deeper financial trouble and erode self-esteem. It's a cycle that benefits only one side, the gurus collecting the fees. This highlights a crucial aspect. These finance influencers often don't just exploit ignorance, they exploit hope. Hope for a better life, hope for meaning, hope for dignity. And there's something tragic about how easily hope can be misused. The narrative that you're one secret away from breaking free is addictive. It's much easier to believe that than to confront the more challenging truths. Real progress often involves slow growth, learning from mistakes, and building relationships with people who care about your well-being rather than your wallet. If there's a positive takeaway from this, it might be that moments of disillusionment can lead you to rediscover genuine mentors and reputable sources of information. It can push you to read books on finance written by economists and seasoned investors who aren't yelling at you through a camera. It might encourage you to talk to actual entrepreneurs in your community, people running a diner, a local startup founder, the carpenter who expanded his workshop, who can share stories about risk, failure, patience, and steady improvement. As viewers and seekers, we owe it to ourselves to look beyond the spectacle and noise. We can respect ambition without dehumanizing ourselves or others. We can acknowledge the need for financial stability without falling for simplistic soundbites. If someone's message hinges on making you feel inferior, if their wealth is suspiciously untraceable, if their main product is telling you to escape a matrix without defining it, step back and question why you're listening. When we understand that, the spell breaks. Then these so-called gurus lose their grip. What do you think? Comment below. I want to know your opinion about this matter. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more of these kinds of videos. Thanks for watching.